Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel for another video. This will be a sit-down video, mostly like a me talking to you guys video to explain or basically tell my story of how my chronic pain started, basically my origin story, because if I want this spot to really represent and advocate for people with chronic pain and let people know what it's like, what it does to a person, or at least what it does to me. I should probably tell you, how it happened, how it started, the journey that I've been on ever since I was 9 years old. And then I think with my content I can really start showing you more about what it's like to, be almost 27. When this is out, I'll be 27. What it's like to actually live right now. And I hope I can say enough of what it's been from me being 9 till now, basically. So yeah, I have my laptop here, so if I look down sometimes, it's just, that's like so much information that I want to tell you guys. So I had to make like a little bit of like a support system in my laptop. And I also have obviously a drink because my mouth gets dry really quickly when I talk a lot, which is annoying. And if you hear a weird sound maybe in the background, that might be my dog, because he's eating something that I gave him to distract him so he doesn't come to me. But he might make an appearance at some point, because I really hope this video is not going to be too long, but I do just want to give you as much information about what it's been like for me, how everything started, like I just said. So yeah, that's basically what this video is. So I hope you stick around, and I really hope you subscribe and stay on this channel and, learn about the chronic pain, because it is a thing that lots of people have. Lots of different kinds of chronic pain, but it's still all chronic pain, and there's still something very difficult to deal with, because it's not just physical, it's also very mentally so heavy to deal with. So yeah, this is basically my story. So I hope you guys stick around for that, and I don't know, if you have questions at the end of the video, please ask them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them for you. And yeah. So let me first start off with explaining what chronic pain actually is, because maybe you don't know what exactly the term means. But chronic pain is basically a long-term pain that continues beyond a normal recovery period. So it can be constant, or it can come and go depending on, like I said, what kind of chronic pain you have. And it basically affects every single part of your life. Everything. Like, doesn't matter what kind of chronic pain you have, it affects everything in your life. Like, every little small little sliver of life it will affect. Work, school, sleep, mental health, relationships, hobbies, everything. And people often think that, pain is just physical, which, I mean, before everything started and before I got a little bit older, that's the exact same thing I thought too. So no judging over here, but yeah, people often think that pain is obviously physical, but chronic pain becomes emotional too, because you never really get a break from it. And for me, it all started with like one little tiny moment. And on one normal school day, one stupid game of tag. That's literally how it all started for me. Which is crazy to think about, right? I was just having fun on my birthday in 2008. I literally just turned like 9 years old. And my life was, well, for me at the time, normal, obviously. Now, I was in primary school, I did gymnastics 4 times a week, competitions during the weekends. I was just a happy little girl who loved gymnastics more than everything, or more than anything. And yeah, it was great. Loving life. And one day during recess, my friends and I invented this game, this new kind of game of tag. Sorry, I talk a lot with my hands. That might be very distracting for some people, but I don't know, that's just what I do. We invented this new game of tag, which was like on a roundabout that was painted onto like the floor on the playground. And I remember laughing, and we were running, and we were turning around, and then suddenly this really big ass pain shot just came upside to my leg, and I fell to the ground. And then first we laughed, obviously, because that's what you do when you see somebody fall during playing time, obviously. But then, the bell rang and recess was over, and, obviously I had to get up and had to get back inside. And I remember thinking, this happens all the time, I'm sure I'll be fine. Because obviously I was doing gymnastics. I am hyperflexible. I have hyperflexibility in my joints, which helps me during gymnastics, but during other times it really isn't helpful. But I did a lot of twisting my ankles and doing weird kind of stuff all the time, which actually was outside of gymnastics, not even during gymnastics. I've had injuries before, never anything happened during gymnastics. It was always me just playing outside of gymnastics. But yeah. So after, so I kind of limped back into class, and then I obviously sat down. Well, I sat down, and then a reminder happened to me because my mom was a nurse, and I always knew that when you twist your ankle, you have to cool it, so it doesn't swell up later. So I went to my teacher at the time, and I asked her, I just twisted my ankle, maybe it's a good time to cool it for a little bit. But she just told me to go sit down, so she didn't really take me serious, which, yeah, was crazy to think back on right now, but yeah. And after I did, obviously, I wasn't like a 9-year-old kid, so I sat down, and after a while, this is a crazy specific story, this is just something I really remember very, very well. So I sit down, and after a while, I had to empty my pencil sharpener. And I went to stand up, and then this horrible pain just shot through my entire leg from my ankle obviously up all the way to my hip, and I couldn't stand on my ankle anymore, so I couldn't empty my pencil sharpener. And I know one of my classmates, not gonna say any names, but she was sitting in front of me, and she kind of saw what happened, so she offered to empty my pencil sharpener, which was very nice. But I couldn't walk anymore, and after school, me and my brother was like 1 grade up from me, so he was still at the school too that I was at, so I couldn't walk. It was not even like a 5-minute walk, I think, from school back home, but he had to help me get home, so he went home first, got his biked all the way back to school, well, all the way back, he biked back to school so that I could sit at the back, and then he could drive me home. And then my mom obviously came home, and my ankle was like super, super swollen at the time. So, we went to the doctor said, can you stand on it? And usually when you can stand on it, it's not broken. That was, I don't know if it's still the same, because I've never ever broken a bone after that. So yeah, it's not broken, and honestly sometimes still wonder my life would have been different if I just refused to stand on it, and then if the doctor would have said okay, I think it's broken, you should probably go to the hospital and get an x-ray. I really sometimes think back on it, if I just done that, overreacted, because not to update my whatever, but I was a gymnast, so my pain tolerance was really, really high. So when somebody says, can you stand on it, and I stand on it, doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't really hurt super, super bad. So yeah, but yeah, wondering about that, but obviously that doesn't really change anything. And then that was the moment that everything happened, so that's how I got my chronic pain. That's the origin story basically, which is crazy, right? I was just a 9-year-old kid playing tag, and that just started everything. And I used to not be able to tell this story because it traumatized me so much. Luckily, because of therapy and stuff, I can tell it. I mean, I'm even smiling when I'm telling this story, which you guys also might think that that's crazy, but it's not, honestly. It's like, it's my life that I talk about. And every time, lots of people ask me to tell a story like, oh, how does it happen? And if I have to tell it every time, and I can't, and I choke on it, and I cry about it, that makes it worse. You know, it is my life, and I can't change that that's my life. So, yeah. A question what I always get sometimes too is like, what do you miss the most? Because, I mean, obviously, I got it when I was 9 years old. So I didn't have to give up a lot. But the one thing that I did have to give up was gymnastics. And that is still the thing that I miss the most. And that is still the thing that I had the most, what could have been, thoughts about, honestly. So gymnastics at the time was my entire life when I was younger, you know. Competitions, training, you know, braiding my hair before meets, the smell of hairspray backstage, whatever. Drinking a glass of milk on the couch after practice. I still have like so many like good memories, and I had so much fun doing that because I was good at it. I loved it. I was good at it. And I love challenging myself. I love learning new skills, being scared about learning new skills, and then in the end still doing it, which gave me so much adrenaline all the time. You know, I miss it so much. Like I said, because after the injury, I kind of lost it piece by piece. I did go back to it for a little bit, but then I was like so behind on everybody else because I've been out of it for a couple months. And then, I mean, I decided myself to quit gymnastics, which was like, why did I do that? But I did it anyway. And, you know, and I don't think, like I said, I don't think I fully realized at the time that I was losing it forever. That I think I never realized that the decision that I made then to quit gymnastics was meaning that I would lose it like for the rest of my life, that I've never gotten back to it. So yeah, that's crazy, but that's like something that I really, really miss when I look back on, and that's basically the only thing I actually had to give up that really still hits me. Because technically I think when I look back on my life, I've had to give up running. I really love running, especially the sprinting part of it. Couldn't do that because my ankle joint just kept locking up. And I started doing it a couple of months again, but that just took so much energy, so much recovery time afterwards that I really wasn't anybody like 2 days after the running bit, so I just couldn't do that anymore, but yeah. And at first, one of the hardest parts wasn't even, you know, the pain itself, but it was the people not believing me, especially in primary school, you know, when it all happened. Because technically I could still walk, I could still go to school, I could still play sometimes. But what nobody saw was, you know, the price I paid afterwards. Yes, I did all those things. And then afterwards I would cry because I was in so much pain. I even, you know, brought x-rays and MRI scans to school once to prove something was actually really wrong inside. And somehow people became jealous of the attention that they thought I was getting, because I didn't feel like I was getting more attention than, you know, anybody else. And you know, some classmates started saying that I was lying and that I was faking it for attention. And hearing that as a child destroys something inside of you, and it really did. At the time, I didn't really know it, and I was very confused myself about everything too. You know, I stopped talking about my pain, I stopped trusting people, I learned to keep things inside, and honestly, I still struggle with that today. I am doing better. It gets easier sharing things, obviously, because otherwise I wouldn't be doing this on YouTube. I wouldn't be having my podcast. And that started, I think, like 2020. That's like the time, like almost over 10 years it took me to be able to like share it with other people again. And then from that day, May 19th, 2008 was the day. It took until the 24th of August in 2020, I finally got my diagnosis of chronic pain. It took me, my parents, whatever, that long to actually get an official diagnosis. And I also just, at that time, really wanted it and needed it for like my future. Like I started to get older, you know, I started to, you know, needed jobs and school and eventually like an actual job, because that was also the time that I started my second degree that I did, so I already finished one. But because of my chronic pain, I have some limits to what I'm able to do. At that time still. I still have those limits. I have been going over them quite a lot of times and figured out that, you know, sometimes I can go over my limits a little bit more than what I thought I had, but yeah. So I got the diagnosis, obviously chronic pain, because I needed it and I wanted it. Because it can actually help me with my future at the time. So my parents and I drove all the way to the University Medical Center Groningen for the appointment. It's about a 2.5 hour drive, which is, for me, a cross-country drive. 2.5 hours. Welcome to the Netherlands, guys. A very small country. And I remember being really, really nervous. And at the hospital they examined my ankle and eventually suggested a nerve block, which wasn't fun. It terrified me because I hate needles. Says the girl who has like 30 plus tattoos. I know. I still hate needles. Tattoos is different, okay? It's totally different. But this nerve block, it will go, obviously because my chronic pain is in my right ankle, is in this ankle. So the nerve block, I don't know if you can see it, would have to go into my knee because they would have to block my nerves like in the entire like leg right here. So they would put in like a needle, and I remember the doctor saying, because there was also a student doctor there, which is fine, they need to learn too, but I remember the doctor asking that one, like, do you need a 6-inch or a 12-inch needle? Like the length of it. And then luckily they said the shortest because I was like sweating, dude. But they would use like, oh my god, I don't know the English word for it. But they would use like the one that they, oh my god, you get this when you're pregnant, dude. I can't get up to the word, but you know what I mean. And then they put that on my knee, and then they put in the needle, and then they said like, okay, it needs to go around your nerve, obviously, because it's a nerve blockage, basically. And it can get too close to the nerve, because then, you know, it doesn't go into like, whatever. There was a scientific reason for that I don't know, and I don't remember. But, and then they say like, okay, so you'll let us know when we get too close to the nerve. And I'm like, okay. And they get too close to the nerve, and it fucking hurts when they get too close with a needle. Is it an echo? Sorry, can I just say it's an echo? Is that it? Oh my god. I'm like, I know these words, but I just lose them whenever I'm like filming stuff. It's crazy. But yeah, they put the needle like in the side of my knee, and then they did that, and they got too close a couple of times, which was very awful. Okay, the camera angle might be a little bit different because my battery was empty. I just shut off. Sorry, but I'm back. I was talking about the nerve blockage, so I'm gonna quickly wrap that up. So basically they did it, it didn't work, and then they luckily gave me the diagnosis of chronic pain. They were happy to help me with that one. And then it obviously meant that it wasn't the nerves in my ankle that were like broken or something wrong with that. It really is, you know, my ankle sending the message to my brain. So yeah, something up here is not working correctly with the nerves in my ankle down there. Something is off there. So basically my nervous system is fucked up right over there. Because of the trauma, it did something and it's not good. So yeah. That was a whole day. I kind of want to tell you guys also that that's basically, I missed so much in between. I've went to so many physiotherapists, anesthesiologists, trauma doctors, orthopedists. It's like I've been to like everybody and everyone, and I think I've had every possible thing done to me to be able to like not be in pain. Like I've been on Oxy, I've had morphine. Morphine did sort of help take the edge off of the pain, but I got really sick from taking morphine, so I had to quit that one because just taking the edge off of the pain doesn't really help me get a better life when I get sick from the pain medication that they gave me. So I've been on all the pain medication you can think of. I've been on sleep medications to help me sleep better. I've been to like therapy for my mental health, which helped me a lot. I have to say, if you ask my family after therapy, after I got my diagnosis, that really helped. I think it was after that I opened up a little bit more about my story and everything, also to like my extended family, as in aunts and uncles and grandmas and granddads and stuff. So yeah, I want to talk to you a little bit about my coping mechanism, because obviously everybody has one when they're struggling with mental health, physical health, whatever it is. I'm very lucky. I obviously have a very good support system. My parents were there. We had our ups and downs in that whole thing, but we really, I mean, I've really, they were there for me. You know, I knew that they were there for me, which really helped, obviously. And then again, I think I'm very lucky that I didn't went to the pills and alcohol as a coping mechanism. Obviously, I was 9, but at that time it wasn't really that hard mentally yet, besides the being traumatized by my classmates at the time for thinking that I was lying. That really shut me up for a couple of years. But yeah, no, my coping mechanism is basically putting myself into a different reality, which is watching my movies, my TV shows, reading my books. And that also really helped me to just write everything down, like the thing that I was feeling. Not necessarily sharing it with everybody, but writing it down. And then we got my dog Toby, who obviously lives at my parents' house. It's a dog. You can say anything to it. It doesn't really talk back. So it kind of was like therapy sessions that I've had with him. And then now I've got my own little dog that I can talk to about anything, who looks at me crazy and weird. What the fuck are you doing? But it helps, honestly. It really, really does help. But yeah, my TV shows and my movies and my books, you know, just getting to step into a different world and not having to think about, you know, who I am and what I'm dealing with in the real world for a little bit really, really helps. And sometimes, I mean, it's never been damaging to me, obviously. Not as damaging as you know, drinking alcohol, and damaging as, you know, doing drugs. And it's also not damaging to the people around me, which also technically really, really helped and is obviously, you know, a pro of my coping mechanism. I mean, even my therapist told me the coping mechanism that you have, you can use for the next 34 years. And I'm like, I guess that's a good thing. but it sometimes got in the way of my school stuff because I would be watching my TV show until like 3-4 a.m. and I didn't study. And then I found out during my therapy, during my therapy sessions that because I had EMDR, whatever, like when you have sounds and stuff in your face, you get distracted, and then, you know, it helped you. It's for PTSD, which I had because of what happened in primary school. That really helped me, but I had to do a lot more things to help me with it because my therapist and I found out I'm a great multitasker. So that's why I'm also very good at like doing my homework now and studying for tests while I'm watching my TV shows and stuff and doing work or whatever I'm doing. So that's what we found out, and that really helped me. Cope. I'm still using it. I still use my coping mechanism to deal with like everything that's going on, and it kind of feels like the older I get, the harder it hit me mentally, which I guess makes sense. Yeah, and like I've said before probably, is that the one thing I want people, you know, to understand is that chronic pain affects everything. I said this at the beginning of the video, but it's not just your body that's affected. I mean, I'm in pain. You know, physically my ankle hurts all the time, and there's nothing physically wrong with it. Well, it was at the beginning, and then I had a whole operation and stuff in between. Oh, maybe I should have told you that, guy. I should have told you that. Oh my god. See, there's so much to tell. Because there's literally like, almost 20 years of stuff that's been happening. And I can't tell you everything. But obviously it happened in 2008. And I think in 2010, like about 2 years later, somewhere in August I think, I had an operation because I did break off a piece of bone. Like off of this like little thingy that's here. Like, I don't know if you can see it, but that's kind of like straight. So a little piece of bone did break off because I was hyper flexible. And my tendons just took the piece of bone with them. But yeah, that happened. And then that was stuck in my ankle for 2 years, and then I had an operation to take that out. And then we would think like the pain would go away. But obviously it didn't. Oh god, that was such an important part to say, and I didn't say it. And then after that, physiotherapists, orthopedists, anesthesiologists, whatever. Everything we've tried. Okay, we're back to what I was talking about. But yeah, it affected me in many, many ways. Obviously, one of my other coping mechanisms was just eating a lot. Like binge eating. I did a lot of binge eating, a lot of sugar. Got a whole sugar addiction out of it. And I'm on my weight loss journey, so that's going better as well. But it was like a vicious cycle. Like I would feel bad, so I would eat, and then I would feel bad about eating, and then I would eat more, and then it was just really hard to get out of it, and because of the Ozempic I'm using right now, it kind of got me out of that cycle, because I've got multiple cycles that I'm in. But yeah, I have to tell you that even though I'm doing good, I mean I am doing good, I still have good days, and I still have bad days, and I still have periods of time that I'm not doing good at all. But I feel like that's everybody. I mean, yeah. So yeah. I guess that's my story, and even though I have the diagnosis that I got 6 years ago almost now, I still haven't fully accepted it, which is weird to say because I wanted that diagnosis. But that also means that if you accept that diagnosis, that means that you're gonna be stuck. with pain for the rest of your life. And I got that diagnosis when I was 21. And I've been living with pain ever since I was 9. So honestly, I don't know anything different. I don't know what it's like to not be in pain. I guess that would be weird for me. Maybe feel like I'm flying or something. I don't know. But yeah, I still haven't accepted the diagnosis. I don't know if I'll ever do that. Maybe I should just go back into therapy. I'm going to, by the way, but that's not the point. But just for people to like listen to this, and I mean, I'm not asking of you guys to fully understand me, because that's not possible. If you're not somebody with chronic pain and actually living the life with chronic pain, you will never fully understand me. And I get that. That's okay. That's completely fine. But just listening and saying like, oh my god, that must be difficult, or in what way can we help to make stuff easier for you, that really helps a person. And if you're not like the suggestive kind of person, just listen. Just listen. That's all you gotta do. And that's sometimes all people need. To be heard and to be hugged afterwards. But yeah, that's the origin story. My story. I mean, there's so much more to tell, but I don't feel like that's very much of interest to you guys. I mean, obviously, if you have questions about some of the treatments that I've had, that I've done, sure, I'll answer some questions, but I'm not gonna say them all here. Like, I'm not gonna name all of them here. That doesn't really add anything to the story. And there's probably gonna be more sit-down videos of me talking about this, talking about certain topics, maybe more specifically about coping mechanism, how that works, maybe more about therapy as well. I don't know. But I basically just want to show you guys what it's like for me to like deal with it still now. You know, in this era of my life, almost being in my 30s now. Which is crazy. But yeah, that was it, I guess. Thanks for listening, and I hope you found it interesting, and yeah, subscribe, like the video, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.
I don't know why, but you stay on my mind. You walking like a quiet breeze, messing with my heartbeat. Don't even try, you just exist, and that's enough for me. You smile like you don't know